It's time for Around the Ozarks News, brought to you by the Springfield-Greene County Park Board, Blue Current, and Thompson Sales. Here are your hosts, Ethan and Sarah Foreheads.
Hey, good morning to you on Wednesday. It is a special election results version of the podcast today. So good morning.
Which means late night, early morning, but I guess it's probably a late night and early morning for everybody today because that's just how it rolls on election, the day after election, we should say. All right, here we go. The campaigns are over, the votes are in, and Donald Trump is the 47th president of these United States after pulling off wins in Georgia, North Carolina, Wisconsin, and the biggie, Pennsylvania. He ended up with electoral votes, 277 to 226. So Donald J. Trump. Now here at home, there were a lot of ballot issues in Missouri in the governor's race. It was an easy victory for Republican Mike Kehoe. The current lieutenant governor defeated Democrat Crystal Quaid, earning 59% of the vote. Of course, Mike Parson was not running again because of term limits. And for lieutenant governor, it will be Republican Dave Wassinger with 57% of the vote.
And in the United States Senate, incumbent Republican Josh Hawley easily defeated Democrat challenger Lucas Kunce. Hawley got 55.5% of the vote. It was a very expensive campaign for the Senate, but Hawley will return to Washington for his second term as U.S. Senator. In the U.S. House, in our area, District 7, Eric Burleson won with 71.5% of the vote. And in District 8, Republican Jason Smith took home 77% of the vote. And over in District 4, Republican Mark Alford retained his seat with 71% of the vote. Attorney General Republican Andrew Bailey earned re-election with 60% of the vote. And Secretary of State Republican Denny Hoskins won 58% of the vote.
All right. And for Treasurer, Vivek Malik won re-election with 58%. Missouri Amendment 2 barely passed, which will legalize sports betting. It passed with 50.2% of the vote. So we will see sports betting in the state now. Also, Missouri Amendment 3 passes, which reverses our state's near ban on abortion and enshrines a constitutional right to abortion in Missouri. Now, it narrowly passed as well with 51.9% of voters saying yes. I can tell you, I looked at the concentration map of voters. St. Louis County definitely pushed that one over the edge to win.
Missouri Amendment 5 would have allowed for a casino at Lake of the Ozarks. That failed. It barely failed, but it failed. 52.3% of the voting public said no to that. Voters also rejected Amendment 6, which would have implemented new court fees. Voters passed Amendment 7, which is to ban ranked choice voting and open primaries, and amend the Constitution to specify that only U.S. citizens can vote. That passed with 68.4% of the vote.
And Proposition A, Missouri Prop A, will raise the minimum wage to $13.75 per hour and then up to $15 per hour. It passed with 57.6% of the vote. Also, Springfield sales tax, question 1, will provide money from sales tax to fund the police fire pension, as well as some capital projects in Springfield. It also easily passed. So there's some of the biggest issues. That's certainly not all of them, not all the races, but that's some of the biggest ones that we have so far. And what you think, Ethan? Are you surprised?
There were some judgeships also on the ballot that you can look up if you're interested in those. It would have taken us too long to list, but it was an interesting night. Some of the amendments and propositions I'm a little surprised with. But
Amendment 3, which for me personally was a big one, it was something I was watching closely. And if you look at the voter concentration map on that one, it just goes to show you the populace in St. Louis County, because I mean, it failed all over the map. But that one was a huge chunk of voters voting yes on that. And so sometimes you can feel like, well, the rest of the state would outweigh. But I mean, when you start looking at population, concentration in St. Louis, Kansas City, it is a much bigger percentage of people.
Well, I think that's pretty typical of most, the way that most votes turn out. It's urban, rural. It's a battle between, if you look at the country, I mean, it's one shade, and then there are spots where it's a different shade.
Right,
So
right.
It is urban versus rural.
Yeah, for sure.
For how votes turn out in this country.
Wanted to make a mention of one other story, really sort of election related, not really, but Wright County, just grieving this morning after a couple there in their 70s lost their lives on the way to work the polls. They were literally driving early in the morning, all the flood water that we got because of the rain, they were swept away, as well as other cars. Other cars were swept away as well, but everybody else was able to get to safety except for that couple. Wow. In their 70s on their way to work the polls. So wow. Wright County, I love Wright County so much. It's very rural and just very together. It's a unified community, and they were driving at 4:00 in the morning to go get everything set up for the election day, and state highway, state route H right there by Beaver Creek. So there will be much more to come on their life and legacy, I'm sure, today. Also, we want to mention before we go, the contest is still underway at aroundtheozarks.com. You can go check that out, scroll down to Branson Bowl, and we are giving away game tickets for the Chiefs game. And that game coming up on November 29th against the Raiders. So we have free tickets to give away to that. And you'll also win some Branson official vacation destination of the Kansas City Chiefs custom gear.
Yeah.
But you got to enter to play at aroundtheozarks.com, and you will need a keyword, Ethan.
The keyword is glamping.
There you go. Keyword is glamping. So we hope that you will participate in that, and we'll let you know the winner on Friday morning. Otherwise, this has been a special election edition, I guess you could call it.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often. Once every 4 years or so.
Yeah, there you go. I know.
But that's it. That'll the election is the majority of our news. We'll be back with more news tomorrow, and we hope you have a fantastic Wednesday. And you know what? This is a country where, for generations, we vote, we disagree. And then we say, okay, well, then let's move on.
We move on, and we are kind.
Of whether
we are kind
your
to
person,
our neighbors. Yes.
Regardless of whether your person won or not. So hoping that happens this time. And right. I think it will. So we'll see you tomorrow.
And now Ethan is going to sing a solo of God Bless the USA. Hit it, E.
Yeah. I'm going to go get some coffee.
Bye.
At your job, do you ever have to deal with a nose roller? How about a snub pulley? Well, if you're installing a new conveyor belt system, dealing with the different components can sound like you're speaking a foreign language. Luckily, you've got a team ready to help. Grainger's technical product specialists are fluent in maintenance, repair, and operations. So whenever you want to talk shop, just reach out. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
It's time for Around the Ozarks Wake Up Weather, sponsored by Rescue Towing, Command Family Medicine, and John's Heating and Air. Here's your host, meteorologist Abby Dyer.
Good morning, everyone. We are waking up to a bit of patchy fog across the Ozarks this morning, so you may want to plan a few extra minutes, especially if you have a lot of moisture on the ground. That's where we're seeing the dense fog across the Ozarks this morning. We've got temperatures in the mid-40s, and because of all the rain that we had over the last several days. The ground is still very soggy. No rain in the forecast today, but we may see some foggy conditions until we get to about mid-morning, until that fog is able to burn off a little bit and we can separate the ground temperature from the air temperature as we head into the rest of the day today. Overall, though, things are going to be pretty nice across the Ozarks today. We are starting off with cloud cover in the Ozarks, and I expect more of that as we go through the day. The thick fog will probably last through mid-morning, as I said, and visibility could drop below a half mile at times. So that is thick. Make sure you use the low beams, plan a few extra minutes. If you live in an area that is prone to seeing fog, well, you might just want to expect it early this morning. The cold front is through, however. We are now on the cool side of this system, and things should shape up to be pretty nice across the region today. High pressure now in control of our weather pattern. That means a dry day for us in the Ozarks. Temperatures are starting off chilly, mid-40s, but I have 65 by the time we get to the afternoon. So a nice little warm up in store for us today. And of course, all the active weather is out ahead of that same cold front that came through for us, which is now pushing off to the southeastern portion of the country. I also expect that we are going to see more rain in this forecast, but we've got a couple of dry days before that gets here. A seasonal forecast in terms of temperatures is on tap for us today. Mid-60s is pretty typical of this time of the year, and we're going to see these numbers through the rest of the week. So numbers are looking quite nice across the area. I am expecting that we see conditions that stay on the mild side as we head through late week as well. More active weather, though, is ahead for us by Friday and Saturday. I'm looking at the models and seeing another signal for some widespread rain in the Ozarks. This looks to ramp up Friday evening, lasting through most of the day on Saturday, the way things look at this point. So if you're already trying to plan your weekend, just know that it does look like we'll be dealing with some rain showers and potentially some thunderstorms again as we head into Saturday specifically. Today, 65 degrees, mostly cloudy and seasonably warm across the Ozarks. I think we're still in the 60s tomorrow. Again, another day with significant cloud cover across the Ozarks. So kind of some gray conditions with the earlier sunset. It's really feeling more like fall as we move into the rest of the week. We see additional clouds and rain chances return for us by the time we get to Friday. So some of those Friday night football games may be dealing with rain this week. Heads up to that. Around the country, what's making headlines is gusty winds and really dry conditions happening out in California for southern and central portions of California. Fire danger is critical today. The other thing making headlines is, of course, tropical storm watches happening down for South Florida and parts of the Florida Keys. That's out ahead of Raphael. So lots going on in South Florida once again. And the East Coast is dealing with quite a bit of rainfall across the region as well. All right, it's time for the Around the Ozarks Wake Up Weather Brain Twister Trivia question for the day. And we are feeling the effects of that daylight saving time this week. What do you think this one was? True or false? Daylight saving time in America was originally implemented to help farmers. Well, that seems reasonable, but it is actually false. That's actually a wide misconception about daylight saving time. In fact, agriculture has long been opposed to the change. And when this happened, there were all sorts of lobbying groups for farmers and the agricultural industry that was against the time change. But it was first implemented in the United States to conserve energy during World War I. So if you hear that it was to help farmers, it actually was not. It can throw animals off their typical feeding schedule and milking schedule, which farmers were very much opposed to. So false. B is the correct answer today. All right, here's your next chance to win. I've seen so many people already decorating for Christmas. We're there. If you're already in the Christmas season, already watching some Christmas movies, you may have seen this one recently. In the movie Home Alone, what is Kevin preparing to eat when the wet bandits hit his house? Do you think it is A, cheese pizza, B, macaroni and cheese, C, ham and cheese, or D, grilled cheese? You might recognize a cheese theme there in all of those options, but do you know which one he was eating or preparing to eat when the wet bandits hit his house? If you have a guess, you can submit that over at aroundtheozarks.com. Thank you so much for listening this morning to Around the Ozarks Wake Up Weather. And thank you to our sponsors, John's Heating and Air, Command Family Medicine, and Rescue Towing. Have a great one. We'll chat again tomorrow.